We, the leaders from northern Kenya, wish to strongly and unequivocally condemn the recent inflammatory, reckless, and dangerous divisive remarks made by Governor George Natembeya of Trans Nzoia and Mr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka concerning President William Ruto's crucial proclamation on 5th February 2025, which rightfully rescinded and scrapped off the long-standing unjust and discriminatory vetting process long imposed on Kenyans from northern Kenya. The decision to abolish this discriminatory and unconstitutional vetting practice was undeniably overdue and yet profoundly necessary as a corrective measure that reaffirms and protects the constitutional rights of all Kenyans, most notably those from northern Kenya region and other border communities. Article 12(1)(b) of the Constitution explicitly guarantees every citizen the right to Kenyan passport, as well as unfettered access to any registration or identification documents, while Article 27(4) decisively prohibits discrimination on any grounds, including ethnicity, religion, or social origin. These constitutional safeguards are non-negotiable and should never be subjected to distortions of discriminatory procedures. Furthermore, it's crucial to underscore that the President's proclamation was not solely a measure intended for northern Kenya, but rather a far-reaching reform that offers far-needed relief to over 14 border counties across the nation. This includes, unfortunately or fortunately, Governor Tembeya's Trans Nzoia County, which shares a significant border with Uganda, and you all know it. You know the population, you know how it is. One must question Governor Natembeya's apparent refusal to associate himself with the President's proclamation with the border benefits it brings to his own Trans Nzoia County, which shares a vital border with Uganda. Why then has Governor Natembeya chosen to direct his rage towards this positive impact this reform could have on his constituents, but instead unleash a barrage of personal attacks against the pastoral communities? You can only speculate. Why will he do it? Is it because he is a product of the dreaded provisional administration, or because he has other motives? Why not even support issues that benefit his own county? That's a question that I think every rightful thinking Kenyan should ask himself or herself. It must go on record that this fair and progressive process, as outlined by the President, offer far-reaching relief to numerous border counties, including his own. It promotes fairness and equity for all Kenyans, especially those in border regions who have historically had challenges of restricted movement and economic marginalization. It is perplexing that the governor, instead of celebrating this unifying step towards greater national cohesion and unity, has instead sought to sow seeds of division, fueling unwarranted hostility towards communities that stand to benefit from these reforms that should in fact be the cause for collective support, solidarity, and celebration. You're all aware. You look at across Kenya here, how many communities live up along the borders? Not only the Somalis. We have Tavetas along the Kenya-Tanzania border. We have the Luos in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Uganda, in southern Sudan. We have the Turkanas in southern Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya. You have the Ormos in Kenya and Ethiopia, and many other communities. Why should it be an issue? And two, have we not all participated and voted for the current Constitution in 2010? Why will we oppose the operationalization of clear provision, clear articles, like Article 27, when it's being done right now? It ought to have been done actually by President Kibaki immediately after August 2010 Constitution. So the President's bold action serves not only to rectify historical injustices in northern Kenya, but also foster national cohesion and support the livelihood of communities across the entire country. For far too long, the border counties, specifically the border counties of northern Kenya, have extremely suffered under suffocation of cloud of unfair, discriminatory vetting, which subjected the citizens to unwarranted and humiliating scrutiny, rendering them effectively stateless within their own country. You're also aware that there are particular laws, like the Indemnity Act of 1967, It was enacted purposely to indemnify the soldiers who are serving in northern Kenya. Has it ever happened to any other community? It has never happened. You're also aware that we have had the District Contagious Act. We have had the screening procedures. All these processes were tailor-made for the people of Kenya. Under this era, during this time, when everybody is living under this progressive constitution, those who are wishing for the people of northern Kenya to still be subject to those discriminatory laws are unfair, unreasonable, and I think are living in their own world and must accept the reality that Kenya belongs to all the 47 tribes and no community should be excluded. The President's courageous decision to rectify this grievous injustice stands squarely in line with the provisions of Article 19.2, which underscores that ultimate purpose of recognizing and safeguarding human rights is to preserve the inherent dignity of individuals and promote essential ideals of social justice, which is a critical component of any society. The inflammatory and deeply harmful statements made on 8 February are not only reckless, but also profoundly dangerous. Because national cohesion is very important. We are all aware. We all come from regions. We all have tribes. We all have our ethnic identities. But what brings us together is this flag under this sovereign republic called Kenya. And this must not be negated at any time, because that's what holds us together. That is the fabric. That is the fabric that holds the Kenyan society together, notwithstanding their diverse differences, regions where they come from, and ethnic identification. This must be safeguarded. And those who are carelessly been promoting this must be aware that there are countries that have suffered in the past because of reckless statements by leaders who don't think out of the box. This must not be allowed in the modern day Kenya. So the attempt to vilify and unjustly profile an entire community as terrorists is an indefensible and outrageous accusation, especially coming from a person in the position of elected leadership. Such utterances are not only irresponsible, but perilous, as they inflame divisions and deepen historical grievances of marginalized communities in Kenya. You're all aware in the past, these communities, even criminal elements, though it's an individual issue, these communities, bandits, you have heard Somali bandits. Have you ever heard of a Luo bandit? A Kikuyu bandit? So, these thugs, we must shed off this. We all want to proudly live in a modern day Kenya where everybody gets his fair share of respect first and constitutional guarantees. This must not be negated. Citizenship and the right to identification enshrined under Article 12(1)(b) of the Constitution are not privileges subject to arbitrary or discriminatory scrutiny. They are inalienable constitutional rights that must never be violated by suppressive and punitive vetting process. You're all aware, the Citizenship Act actually was first enacted in 1948 by the British government for the African communities. Later on, it was again amended in 1963, which again was meant to serve the entire citizen of the newly independent Kenya. But again, since then, so many other things have changed. And these are things that right now that are being changed. And I hope and pray that every rightful thinking Kenya should accept to progressively do away with laws that are tailor-made to discriminate certain sections of our society. Equally regrettable are groundless and irresponsible allegations made by the Honorable Kalonzo, who has insinuated that this landmark reform is a political maneuver and plot to design to influence the outcome of 2027 elections. Such baseless assertions serve no purpose other than to politicize a matter that is fundamentally about the protection of human rights and the defense of the constitutional justice of these people who have been hitherto marginalized. Again, such a reckless statement coming from Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, an erstwhile national leader. It's unfortunate. It's unacceptable. You are looking for votes, and you want to demean the very people who are supposed to vote you. No wonder he has been trying every election as an underdog. Okay? I do not want to deliver. So we want the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, personally, he's a friend of mine, to profusely use the earliest opportunity possible to apologize to the people of Northern Kenya, to the people of Kenya in general, That statement was unexpected, unwarranted, and unacceptable, especially coming from a leader whom we have considered as a national leader. By reducing this critical issue to political rhetorics, the former Vice President is willfully ignoring the systemic marginalization and discrimination that the people of Northern Kenya have endured for decades. The right to identification is not a matter of mere political convenience, as misleadingly portrayed, but an essential human right and an essential necessity that allows every Kenyan to access vital services from education, employment, economic opportunities, and even protection from such irresponsible utterances. I remember one time when he was the Minister for Education, we had to sleep Sekuru the wee hours of the night, simply because we could not travel. I just want to remind him, that is the Northern Kenya. That is the Northern Kenya. These are things that must be done away with right now. So I want to remind him, he should remember that night and what we did at the wee hours of the night, even for our own survival as leaders, equally also in the process of attending, providing service to the people of Mandera. It's our collective and resolute appeal to all Kenyans to renounce such reckless and incendiary rhetorics which only exacerbates national divisions and threaten to undermine the unity we have so adversely forged. The President's decision marks a historic and transformative stride towards restoring the dignity of the countless Kenyans across the country and the most affected region of Northern Kenya, who have so far too long been unjustly relegated to the status of second-class citizens by systemic and oppressive bureaucratic injustices. The people of Northern Kenya region are not strangers to Kenya. They are fully entitled citizens with unquestionable right to enjoy a complete spectrum of rights and protections granted under our Constitution. As a nation, we categorically reject all forms of profiling, discrimination, as we demand for the application of principles of equality, justice, and inclusion for all Kenyans, regardless of their ethnic background, regardless of their color, regardless of their creed, regardless of their region, regardless of their political affiliation, and we demand that every Kenyan must be accorded the rights enshrined in the current Constitution. And finally, we have no apologies as leadership. We have no apologies in supporting the government of His Excellency President William Ruto. We'll continue to appreciate the services offered by the government. We'll continue to support the actions, the activities, the development agenda of the President, and therefore, please accord us respect, accord us a bit of, let there be a bit of tolerance and acceptability, and that is what will hold the Kenyan society together.